In an article published in Boxing Scene Sunday, May 12th, speaking on the fight that took place Saturday night, May 11th, Lance Pugmire says that do not forget him yet. Don't forget about him yet. And he's talking about Vasyl Lomachenko after Lomachenko's victory over George Kambosos Jr. in Australia. This was a fight that could have taken place a couple of years ago before Lomachenko decided to take time away from the sport and defend his country in the world conflict that had begun. But now that he has returned to boxing, and now that he has returned to a place in the sport of boxing, once again having had another title shot, it's looking like Lomachenko is ready to take another step toward a previously failed attempt at Undisputed. Let's talk about what could be next for Vasyl Lomachenko and that whole talk about him becoming undisputed. The thing you have to realize about fighters that the PTB want to be acknowledged and want them to remain at the top of the sport. And it's all due to proper representation. This is no different when it comes to Vasyl Lomachenko. His recent fight against George Kambosos, no one really thought that George Kambosos would defeat Vasyl Lomachenko. However, they're lightweights, and they're two fighters who have circled the top of the division, so why not have a fight between the two? The only thing that was disheartening about the fight was that George did not come in and try to take a risk against Vasyl Lomachenko. Had he done that, the fight could have possibly turned out differently. Now, what I saw immediately was that Vasyl's hand speed was more than Kambosos was prepared to deal with. And that tells me that maybe during training, he did not prepare properly with sparring partners. Because George is not the fastest guy, but nor is he the slowest. He is a flat-footed fighter who will stand and fight. He will trade, he will exchange. But one of the things that he likes is for fighters to bring the fight to him. And tactically, in this match against Vasyl Lomachenko, that was not going to be a proper game plan nor strategy. Lomachenko is the type of fighter that took the initiative in this fight against George because George isn't a vaunted puncher. And Lomachenko figured that his footwork would be advantageous against a fighter like George, and it proved to be exactly that. There were no adjustments made by the Kambosos corner or the fighter himself. And what Vasil was able to do was to land shots on angles and run numbers in sequences. However, there was a moment briefly in, I believe it was the 6th round, a round that I had scored for George. Didn't give him many in this fight, nor did he deserve them, because he wasn't really doing the things that he needed to do to be successful. But during a moment where they both sat down and were having exchanges, George looked very good. He was throwing left hooks to the body, something that really bothered Vasil Lomachenko. If you remember the Devin Haney fight, Devin went to his body heavily, and Vasil didn't like that at all. But George didn't want to take the steps forward to be an aggressor and try to take rounds from Lomachenko. Lomachenko isn't known as a great puncher. He punched very well when he was at the smaller divisions. However, at lightweight, he hasn't really been banging anyone out of there. He's a sharp puncher, and sharp, quick punches that you do not see can put you in trouble. But George, the way to cut speed is to cut the distance and get close. Where was that bullying mentality? Where was the dogged, I'm at home, let me rear up the crowd and get in his chest? Where was that? We've seen few people try to take a fight to Vasil Lomachenko and make him fight on the inside and make him back up. And that's something that Devin did well in increments of their fight. This thing that Lance Pugmire said about don't forget about him yet, he's saying that it's a message that Vasil delivered in his fight. But that wasn't what that was. We hadn't forgot about Lomachenko. No one has. He's a good fighter, and no one is ever trying to take that away from him. But he is navigating the division in a way that I consider walking on eggshells. There are fighters that he could have fought prior to now, including Haney a while back, but he has been selected as another fighter similar to Canelo Alvarez that can kind of pick and choose his way through the sport, and his promoter is going to allow him to get away with that. You see, it was Bob Arum who talked about we hadn't seen anything like Lomachenko since Ali. Are you kidding me? That's not something that I look at and think about him being so great. I can recall Sugar Shane Mosley being at lightweight and really setting the world on fire with his athleticism, fast hand, and power punching that he was capable of delivering at any moment of a fight, drawing comparisons to the likes of Armstrong and people equating him as a lightweight as good, if not approaching greatness, like Roberto Duran. So this thing about haven't seen anything like Lomachenko before, he's lucky there's not a Sugar Shane Mosley around today, or even a Floyd Mayweather Jr. Because Floyd, when he was at lightweight, shook him up as well. But what do we really look forward to in the future? I can tell you, we can look forward to Vasil Lomachenko getting in a position for Undisputed. That's right. In Saturday night's fight against Kambosos Jr., Lomachenko, whose record is now 18-3 with 12 KOs, is slowly positioning himself after picking up 2 titles in this bout toward Undisputed. 2 down, 2 to go. By the year's end, he may add a 3rd title to his present state. And whose fault would it be? There are a couple of names who are out there presently in the division who are just not calling for Vasyl Lomachenko, nor is he calling for them. One of them, Shakur Stevenson. That's right. The young man who blundered his way out of an opportunity at Undisputed himself by missing weight when he was at junior lightweight. Losing the belt on the scales is an unforgivable thing for him because he could have used that as a bargaining chip when he moved up to lightweight. But he thought that he would skip the line ahead of others. It was not to be. And so now, as he's nearing a end of a contract for himself, he's kind of on the outside looking in, asking for a piece of bread. And I can assure you that Vasyl Lomachenko isn't thinking about him right now, because Shakur is the type of young, athletic, youthful, quick boxer that would definitely trouble him and possibly derail the plans that he has toward becoming undisputed. So why take that detour when he can continue down the road that Bob is going to carve out for him? Yeah, the belts that he has presently, it isn't hard to figure what is going to be the entire situation for him. He presently has the IBF and IBO lightweight titles. And we know that the WBO is something that Bob will ensure that he gets an opportunity towards as soon as he can make it happen. But will it work out for Vasyl Lomachenko? We'll have to see. Because think about it. As far as champions go, there's another champion at that weight that many people don't realize that he could give Lomachenko a tough time. Now, Raymond Muratalla has that belt presently, the WBO. He's 20-0 with 16 KOs. Can he deliver against Lomachenko? It would be interesting. He's a little bit bigger and a little more stout, and he does pack a heck of a punch. But the way that they work it, the PTB, they will arrange for Vasyl to be able to get access toward that title without ever facing a threat to derail, because they've had it long enough and they want this young man to retire with an undisputed label for himself. That's where he can state his greatness. And that's where these other fighters really need to step up and say, you know what? We're not going to allow this kid to just walk out of here with those belts. So, there are other names. You can try WBA champion Gervonta Tank Davis, whom I think that Lomachenko is the god of. He has been avoiding Lomachenko longer than some other fighters have been at the top of the division. And even still, he's bluffing and talking through social media, but hasn't shown up. See, one of the things you could do is show up to the fight, where you can get in the ring and kind of challenge a guy and have a face off and things of that nature. But remember, according to his handlers, he's a star and he doesn't have to do that. Well, stars have been known to fall from the sky, and there are plenty of other options out there for Lomachenko, who has chased Tank for a long time. And at this time, it doesn't look like that's going to take place anytime soon. So the Davis camp will continue to huff and pluff their way through this process. But those who really follow the sport of boxing can already tell Davis doesn't want to face Lomachenko. So this is where we are. What are your thoughts? What should be next for Vasyl Lomachenko? The road is wide open, and there's plenty of things that can take place. But remember, this is a protected man here. This is someone that they want at the top. This is someone they want to be undisputed, the same way that they feel for Canelo Alvarez. So you got to be a banger to derail this plan that they have for this man. But always know that, hey, you got to bring it to get it. This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about what should be next for Vasyl Lomachenko and where you see him going. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.